Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Psychocinematic. Today we are going to be covering the new movie on Hulu called Fresh. And this movie's directed by Mimi Cave, and I gotta say right now, freaking loved it. So this movie centers around this woman named Noah who's in the dating scene. She's using all the dating apps, and you get to go with her on this one date with this dude that's a total bust. He is just one of the biggest pricks you've probably ever laid your eyes on. What I thought was really funny about that, though, is that when she's swiping past people, I feel like, even if you're just going off of first impressions and looks, I felt like she swiped past people that looked way better than this guy. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I think there was a dude with a zebra on there. So that sounds pretty interesting to me. So this man is a royal douche, and he starts talking about how women in the past cared about how they looked and they wore dresses, and she's wearing baggy clothing and doesn't look that way. And it's really funny about that because it's not just him being a douche, it's foreshadowing for later in the movie, which is super cool. So once we get there, I'll re-bring it back up. It's awesome. And then when the date is over, he takes her leftovers. Obviously, D-bag move, but it's also foreshadowing for later, and it's symbolic of her leftovers. All right, and then just to quickly list off everything else that he did wrong, we've got dipping his scarf in the food, assuming the waitress doesn't speak English, doesn't hold the door for her, and he pretends he wasn't going after her like with the kiss when she backs up. And then he also doesn't walk her to her car. Luckily, the person stalking her wasn't actually stalking her. We're then introduced to her friend Molly, and she said this quote that I really love. And the quote is, "Ariel, stupid bitch, left the whole sea for a man." That was funny. I like that. Then later, we are introduced to the antagonist, Steve. They meet naturally in a grocery store. I was thinking about the fact that she didn't even meet him on a dating website. I'm wondering if maybe it's social commentary on the fact that you don't meet people naturally often these days. And if you do, there should maybe be a little red flag that pops up in your head. I don't want it to be that way, but that might be what they're saying. When Steve introduced himself to her, she doesn't say her name back, which I thought was interesting. And he didn't even ask further about it. So maybe they're trying to immediately show the red flag that he's not actually interested to get her name. But it could also get played off as, it's scary going up to a woman and just putting yourself out there like that. My grand theory about this movie when I watched the trailer, because the trailer did really good at not giving away too many details. It didn't outwardly say, Steve's a cannibal. I thought it was either going to be cannibalism or a vampire movie. I was leaning more towards the vampire movie, but if I had to go the rest of my life without another vampire or werewolf movie, I would be fine. I would actually probably prefer it. So at this point in the movie, since they meet at the grocery store at night, I was like, God damn it. It's a fucking vampire, man. It's like he doesn't shop in the daytime. So, he's a vampire. It's all about the details. When they're talking and they're in that produce aisle above Noah's head, from the next aisle over, you just see the fresh meat sign. Love it. And they are standing on carpets that say fresh produce. A little less significant, not as cool. But that fresh meat ones is like glaring you in the face. And at that point, you're still either like, maybe he is a cannibal. But maybe it's just kind of referring to like fresh meat, like I want to suck on your blood kind of thing. So we find out that Steve is a plastic surgeon, which might not actually be a stretch. It doesn't seem like that he actually has a real job, but maybe he does. It doesn't sound like it's a stretch though, since he's hacking up people and, making them look different. I guess he's not really replacing it with anything, but he's keeping them alive. While they were on their date at a bar, I was noticing how cool the cinematography was, where they're shooting towards the mirror. He's blurred out, but you see her in the reflection. And I thought that was really cool. And I was telling my wife about it, and she's like, wait, but can you see his reflection? And it pops back up, and I'm like, no, you can't see his reflection. My theory was wrong. But I don't even know why I was upset about that, because I don't want it to be vampires. So I was thinking either they're not following vampire lore or he's not a vampire. And then when they get back to her place, she's like, can I get you anything to drink? He's like, no, just you. Knowing what we know now, it's like, yeah, you're not lying. And then they wake up in bed together. And then when I saw that he was in the sunlight, I was like, okay, he's a cannibal. That's for sure not a vampire. When Noah tells Molly about her experience with this man, she is sketched out when she hears that he doesn't have social media, and that's a red flag. So when I first watched the trailer, I think it was on Fandango's YouTube channel, in the comments section, pretty much all everyone was talking about was, I don't get why people find it weird when you don't have social media. And I'm just like, well, maybe it's not that you don't have social media. It's that you're hanging out in the Fandango YouTube comments. I'm here to see what your guys' theories are. There's more hints of it being cannibalism with the choice of shots. They've got close-ups on Steve's mouth and lips. Then immediately cuts to Noah's neck in the shower and so on. And then he eventually says how he doesn't eat animals. How convenient. So they end up going away for the weekend, and they're going to Cottage Grove, which she had never been to. And I was immediately like, this is a little sus that we're going to your baller ass pad, which is, it's cool, but you're not gonna like go and stay at an Airbnb. You're just like, hey, come see my big ass house over here. I don't know. That just red flag. Come on. She gets made a drink, says, interesting flavors in there. Yep, you just got drugged. And as she's talking, you can see that RGB distortion just slowly start working its way in subtly every time we're looking at Steve, but it's not there when we're looking at Noah. And this is so dope. 33 minutes in, confirmed that she is drugged. The title sequence comes in. I find that stuff so cool. It's like, you've never seen that, I'm sure. I've never seen it. And it's just cool watching people try something new. It's like when you watch a new music video and you see an effect that you've never seen before, and it's so obscure. Love that. It's at this point that she's chained up in what you can only presume to be like a basement or bunker or something like that in his huge estate. But I love this twist. I was already like, woo, this is crazy. I mean, not like celebrating that, Noah's about to have a really rough time, but that this is so cool. And you learn that he's not just a cannibal. He's a businessman. And at this point, you don't even know for sure that he eats the people himself. He's serving up this food for creepy people and people who can afford it at around $30,000 a meal. I mean, this is where the joke moral of the story comes in, which is eating humans is apparently cheaper than eating normal groceries during inflation. Now Noah starts talking to the other victims as she can hear through the walls, and she's kind of deducing that it sounds like Steve's going after people who don't have a lot of family in their lives, and she doesn't. Probably just because he doesn't want people looking for them. But then lo and behold, here's Molly looking for her. And something that blew my mind when she is just doing research, she clicks and drags an image into Google. I did not know that that was a thing. She says how she needs to shower, and she decides to resist him and escape at the point where she sees a clear bloody spot on the wall. It's like, come on, you're probably not the only person that's done that. So maybe just like not at that spot. I understand you would want to escape, but I feel like that would be a bad omen, and I'm going to wait a little bit longer or just do it on your way back at a different spot now that you know that there's a bloody spot there. I mean, sheesh. And then poor Noah loses her ass. He takes her ass, chops it off. And I'm wondering, because she's moving around after that, like she's obviously in pain and she's like, crawling and stuff and she's struggling. How do you move without your ass? Your butt is the biggest muscle in your body. And I just don't know. And it's basically part of your core. I feel like that would be near impossible to move, but I don't know because I have a butt. And when she gets her ass removed, that is the symbolic and foreshadowing part from when she's on her original date where the man is taking her leftovers. Doesn't even ask, just, I'm going to take this for later. That sucks. So Molly hits up Noah and Steve's bartender back when they were on their date because she knows who he is. And this is where the movie starts to remind me a lot of Get Out. Now hear me out. You've got the friend who is skeptical of the entire situation. You have the main character who is betrayed by the lover. The lover is interested in what your body can do for them or their family. And then you have the friend who comes to rescue the main character from the lover's place. I mean, if that's not Get Out, then I don't know what Get Out is. Hear me out. This movie is Get Out meets Dwight Schrute's horse burger machine that allows you to take the horse meat out of the horse while keeping the horse alive. After a little bit of digging, Molly finds where Steve actually lives and sees that he has a wife, and this wife pretends to not know. And I totally had the suspicion. I was freaking out when she hits her in the back of the head after Steve shows up and he says his name's not Steve, but then she does that genius move of calling his phone number. Oh, that part was it's giving me chills just thinking about it. It was so good. But then we see that shower scene with the wife, and my wife totally called it as she was taking off her robe that she was going to be without a limb. So then we're left to wonder, was she a victim? Why does she still stick around if she's a victim? Hopefully we find out. And we do get a little bit towards the end, but I'll cover that once we get there. And now you're only assuming that Molly is going to be served up for dinner when Noah and Steve go on their date. And they say that they're having breasts, so you're like, is it Molly's breasts? I don't know. So Steve explains that the human meat market is in favor of women and women just taste better, and that's why he takes women. Okay, someone needs to give Sebastian Stan a freaking award for that scene where he is cutting the meat and he's dancing, and how it's edited together too with the music. Like, the whole team just needs an award for that scene. It's so eerie, but like interesting at the same time. You just can't look away, and you're like disgusted but intrigued at the same time. It's mind blowing. You see this logo of like a goat head, which is pretty disturbing. You know, it already gives you like satanic vibes, puts you on edge. I'm wondering what other significance that could be, if anything. But Noah is trying to deceive Steve with love. She should get a freaking award, because when she's crying, she's like, I'm sad, I don't feel bad. And it's like, oh, that was so genius to say, just tugging at Steve's heartstrings. All right, now here is that foreshadowing with what her date in the very beginning said to her about the previous generation wearing dresses and whatnot. My wife pointed out how even though that house is like brand new and chic and all that, it was decorated very 60s, and she's in a dress and it looks all proper. So that's that foreshadowing. She was going to end up like this. And then one thing leads to another, and Steve gets his dangling participle bitten off by Noah. First of all, the fact that Steve can hunt her down still after missing his unit is insane to me. That would be nuts. Noah goes and frees her friends, and then the wife shows up too, which is crazy. And Noah didn't even know he was married too, which you have like this dark humor chuckle when that happens. But then it's at this point that you can see that the wife clearly doesn't care about Steve, which makes you think that she probably was a victim and there was no real love there. I said my joke moral of the story, but now for the real one. Keep good friends around you. You need good friends. All right, now for my rating versus Rotten Tomatoes' rating. Rotten Tomatoes critics gave it 80% and the audience gave it 82%. I'm over here thinking like 9.5, so like a 95%, because it's pretty freaking good. I would gladly watch it again, and I just watched it a couple days ago. That's got to be a testament to a good movie when you're down to watch it that soon after you just watched it. All right, and that is all I have for the movie Fresh. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Psycho Cinematic. If you did, leave me a thumbs up, comment what you thought down below, or what movie I should watch next, and then subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.